Well, we're very happy to be here today with Karen Boros, co-founder of the Boros Collection, a very special contemporary art collection based in Berlin, also in a very special place, in a bunker from World War II. So in the first place, welcome Karen to IE University, and thank you for making the time of going over this conversation. We believe you have a very unique and particular vision on art collecting. So we would like to learn a bit more on what was maybe the original motivation for you as collectors to start this collection, and what is your vision, of collecting?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm very honored. Well, at the beginning, we started not as collectors. You are a person, young. We started when we were in the beginning of our 30s, and we were curious about art, and so we went traveling. We went to London. Of course, we are both from the area of Cologne, an area or city where there were a lot of galleries and artists at the time. So the art scene there was very, very active, very cool. And then we were curious, and we had first encounters with artists and galleries, and so we started to buy works because we thought we want to support these artists. My husband, before we knew each other, he went to London a lot. So he met Jay Joplin and then Damien Hirst, the young British artist. And, they went drinking together. And, Damien Hirst said, you have to buy some pieces of mine, come to my studio. And, it was this exchange with artists that was really unique and special, and discussing topics of life, what interests us. And so in the beginning it was, just buying and supporting artists. And then when I met my husband, his house was already, quite full of works. So and one day we had the opportunity to show parts of this collection. We already started to call it maybe a little bit of a collection, to show it in a museum in close to Cologne. And that was our first experience, what it feels like to show what interests us personally to a wider audience. And this was a very special moment.
Well, I can see that clearly you started collecting art because you were experiencing art, at a deeper level, and having this meaningful conversation. I think this is also one of the wonderful things of collecting contemporary artists, that you have the opportunity to actually get to know them, and get to have those exchanges that maybe that cannot happen when you collect, artists that have already passed away. But so I think
this is also what we started with, collecting artists of our generation, because we felt like they are asking the questions that are also interesting us. They're taking the perspectives on what is happening in the world, and this is what we were interested in. So, like for example, we were witnessing the first exhibition of Wolfgang Tillmans with Daniel Buchholz in Cologne, and in the beginning we thought, wow, what is this? These are just photos. I mean, is this art? We had big discussions about his works, and then we kind of grew with his idea of taking photos of the everyday, of friends, and leftovers of parties. That of course was very, very exciting.
Sounds like so. How would you describe your curatorial approach? The way you select who you want to collect, or what artists drive take your attention.
Well, as I said in the beginning, it was our contemporaries that we were interested in, and then eventually when we realized, well, maybe we are collectors now, because the house was full and new works would go into storage.
That's the moment, the storage moment.
Exactly. We decided that we were getting a little bit older, and so were our contemporaries. So we decided that we wanted to stay with the young and emerging artists that we collect. And so but a collection is very personal. So it's usually it's artists that touch us in a specific way, and that raises questions that also are interesting us at a certain time. Like, for example, the post-internet artists who were dealing with the first artists that were growing up with tons of photos and images and access to the internet. What are they doing with this? This was one question that we were looking at, and it's always, there is not a strategy as such, because we react to works of art that we personally find challenging the times and asking the right questions.
Interesting. So you would say, in a way, your collection mirrors the way you see the world, in this thought-provoking, attitude or approach, into.
It's always the perspectives that are interesting us, and it's also on an emotional level. So there are always different levels. It's the perspective the artist takes, the emotion that you are touched with, how the artist is in a context with other artists and his time. So there are various steps we kind of go through. And then it's always the idea, when we start to take up an artist in the collection, we ask ourselves, can we imagine to follow this artist for some time? Because we don't only buy one work, we want to acquire a few works to actually get a better understanding and follow the artist,
walk together
in his step, in his career for some time.
This really idea of patron, in a way, I guess. So I mean, I need to ask you about the very special venue where they've decided to host the collection, which is this World War II bunker. So could you maybe tell us a bit more how this opportunity came up? How did you envision this? It wasn't something that just sometimes it's serendipity, but how did this happen? How do you think this has had an impact on the way you present your collection, and even if it has an impact on the way you collect now?
Well, first of all, we are asked a lot of times, how did you have the idea to?
Yeah.
But the bunker was a big coincidence when we were looking for a space in Berlin, and one day somebody told us about this bunker, and we were curious, and we never thought that this would be a place where you can show art, because it's dark, there is no natural light, very low ceilings. But we were very fascinated by the building, and we realized that also the history of the building was very interesting. And at that time, Berlin was changing very fast, and the buildings and places that showed the history of Berlin were a little bit disappearing, and we thought it would be a wonderful idea to combine this history, but at the same time with art. I mean, the bunker is from a very dark time of Germany, and what would be more fascinating or interesting to put art into such a building, and to start the conversation with the artists. And then when we realized we could, cut out ceilings and open the space and, have bigger rooms, we really decided let's go for it. And we also, we were always in communication with some of the artists in the collection and asked them, can they imagine to show their works and help us install for the first exhibition. So this is, it grew very, very naturally. And now I think it's in the beginning, it's never really been a challenge to show art there. The works really find their space in there and take up the communication and discussion with the building. And I think the special thing about it is also that we work with a lot of art mediators, because the building cannot be visited on your own. So it's necessary that somebody takes you through. So we decided we have this mediation theme, and so people visit the bunker and they're guided through, and they also, they learn something about the artists. They get into a conversation. They take their time. It's not like, we quickly go and see this exhibition. So you really have to book in advance. You have to take your time. It takes 1.5 hours. You also get to know something about the history of the building, the architecture, and the works. So it becomes an experience to visit the bunker.
So yeah, it sounds interesting because, as you say, it's not just a visit; it's an entire curated experience, no, and probably a pedagogical one, no, and an education experience. We could even say.
We always think, we from our own experience, we often go to a gallery and ask, what is this artist about? Tell us something. We don't get it. We don't understand it. So you only see what you know, basically, and it's a nice way to get a little bit more in context of an artist.
So a couple of last questions. Building on what you just said, do you envision any new initiative to engage with the public? Because, as you said, you're a private institution sharing your collection with the public. Do you have any ideas there? And it's a question we get all the time when we meet with directors from museums, both in Spain but also worldwide. There is this new question on the table on what is the role of the cultural institution in the 21st century and how to engage with these younger audiences. So it feels like you're really on the right track, but if you have any additional idea on that end. And the second is, how does the Boros Collection look into the future?
Well, we try to also get young people into the exhibition, and we work with some schools in Berlin so that, school classes can come and have an experience. In our next exhibition, we are actually thinking of integrating the music aspect of the building, because it was at one stage it was a very tough club where they played techno and gabbe. So it has a musical story to tell. And some of the artists and musicians were working in Berlin. They kind of, take up on this history. So we are thinking of going into a dialogue with, younger musicians now and see what they create in relation to this history. And then we are thinking of giving one space a special curated story of the music scene in Berlin, and also of the bunker.
Sounds very exciting, I have to say, and very relevant now that sound art is also becoming a big thing. So I guess that's how one of the next steps in the future for the collection.
The future will be to continue.
It always is. So, well, Karen, it's really been a pleasure having this conversation with you today. Thank you so much for sharing, this very unique way, and a very contemporary approach to the collection, and very visionary, and also very engaged, I think, with the new publics, and I think accomplishing a very important function today in societies, and this idea of like educating and transferring knowledge and experience to the public. So thank you so much.
Thank you.